On 3, 2, 1.
Baby, you know how it goes. It gets lonely in this bed alone. Pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up. Pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up. Baby, you know how it goes. It gets lonely in your bed alone. Pull up, pull up.
Hey, welcome back, Powerheads. It's time for the Power Watch for Kanan Season 2, Episode 2, and we're back. So here we go. First of all, I want to make a comment on the professionalism and the take you back in the day throwback aspect of what's going on with the whole series. I like the fact that they have Ali Shaheed Muhammad on the track. And if you guys don't recognize him, maybe you recognize this lyric. When you come my way, if I was working at the club, you would not pay. So if you don't know, that's Tribe Called Quest. So the DJ for Tribe Called Quest is actually doing the soundtrack for this piece. And in addition to that, we have Mario Van Peebles on board. And there's several references throughout the entire episode to New Jack City. So I think that's pretty fat.
That's a great drop. Honestly, that's an amazing drop. It takes someone who's musically inclined to catch that one. So I'm glad you caught it.
Hey man, it's a tribe is a beast. All right, so we move forward, and you got the little recap going on from last week, and then we got Raquel, and she's trying to go ahead and get herself over to Kanan as far as the situation that he's in, that his life is in danger. And how is Kanan reacting to this over breakfast?
Kanan's not really having it. You know, he's a little bit confused. He's mad. He's frustrated. He does not want to be put out to pasture and sent to his grandmother's house. We ended the last episode with him getting taught how to shoot a gun by his mom. And then all of a sudden, we kind of start this episode where she's more so, let's get him out of here. He's got to go.
Throughout the episode, he seems to get a little bit more idea of the reality of the situation. First of all, he scares the shit out of his mom, Rock, when he steps out, and it looks like the drive-by telephone book dropping occurs. And I definitely understand her apprehension, but yeah, it was a drive-by telephone booking. So if you want to have James Earl Jones jump out and say the one book.
Well, and what I was going to say is I just think that, she's definitely on edge right now. Obviously, it's his doing that got her there. And so what we're seeing is she's worried about her son. And he's not necessarily worried about himself because he doesn't understand the ramifications of what's really going on.
Yeah, it is, man. It's super serious. But as the episode goes on, I don't want to kind of jump ahead throughout the different scenes and whatnot. But at the same time, we can kind of like take a little bit of snippet from each one of these scenes and realize that as time goes on throughout this episode, he's starting to get a bigger and better idea of what he's dealing with. He steps out at night and he sees the shells on the ground. He talks to his girl, Davita, and, she's like, all distraught over $120, and she's talking about $120, and then she convinces him to read the obituary. And then all these things are coming to a head about not only what him and his friends have done, but more so it's a real situation because ramifications are coming up around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, and they're very high. I mean, we have to understand that, she does not know that he's who killed $120. So, we're dealing with a situation where she's mourning a loss, and he knows why that loss is there, and he's not telling her. He's keeping it to himself, and I really think that we're going to see this resurface down the line, and could be a very big storyline. Couple episodes from now.
They have a situation where they don't have corners anymore, and so they have to go underground. And then, the Colombian influence, where does that come from? But basically what's happening is they go ahead and play with Marvin's idea and they shoot him down as they always do. I mean, he might have had a good idea, who knows? But basically what's happening is he's supposed to be the butt of everybody's joke. But later on in this whole episode, we find out maybe he's not. Maybe he knows a little bit about what he's doing. But as far as trying to find a front, some place to operate out of where it's not going to be obvious what they do, they hear about this Colombian couple and they go ahead and explore that.
And well, I'm going to say this, in the drug game, from what we know, what we get to see, obviously I've never been in it, but from what we get to see from the outside looking in, I don't think at this point right now they purely care about corners. I think, they are worried about image, reputation, things like that. And so what we're seeing them branch out in order to keep that image and that reputation right now. Not so much the corners, because they know they can take the corners back if they decide to go and have that war. They don't want to have that war, but they know that that's the way you can actually take it back.
But in the meantime, who's actually working to try to keep their name out there? The only one, they're trying to keep everything down on the low, but the only one who's working to keep the name out there is Marvin with his party.
Honestly, Marvin's a wild card. He's doing what he thinks is right now, but he's a wild card. I mean, can we trust Marvin going forward, or is Marvin looking out for Marvin, and currently the business is potentially secondary to Marvin's,
appetites,
agenda,
and appetites, because he'd be eating. So what's going forward from there? He pushes up on Tony, who's the cokehead publicist at the club, and he convinces her to let him have his affair there and everything. And then he comes in the night of the affair, and she's picking up bottles, trying to get cases of stuff over, and he plays a gentleman role, and he goes ahead and rescues that. And then when there's a foul-mouthed person in line, trying to get at her, he defends her honor. And wow, she really fell for that, didn't she?
Unfortunately, I think he's also the same person to put the dog in the microwave. I mean, is he playing nice now because he knew what he did, or is he playing nice for genuine reasons? I think it's because he knows what he did. And I think he knew what he did was wrong.
I think he just sees it as an avenue where he can make sure that he moves forward with the family. I mean, this is an opportunity for him to prove it right. And people sleep on Marvin. Marvin is an eater dude, and he seems like he's not really paying him much attention, but he knows where he fits in. And where he fits in is he seems to know a little bit about the ladies. He seems to know a little bit about scrumping because he handled himself over there. Next thing you know, she jumps up and kisses him in the mouth. So that's his girl now. Let's be honest with you. I don't know what the club owner's name is.
She's for the streets.
Yep. But see, what's happening is, she was with the club owner dude's brother, and she likes the brothers too. So she jumped on this brother. But basically what's happening is, it seems to be the whole sentiment of the series, and this whole Kanan thing so far is that women seem to appreciate guys who are gentlemen, or at least appear to be gentlemen.
I mean, at least as far as she goes, I don't think she cares whether they're gentlemen or not. But for the show's sake, we're really starting to see that the gentlemen are kind of getting played to the left a little bit, but the guys who are tough, that are rough, that are, really going through, they're in the streets, they're doing their thing, those are the ones that are getting played up currently in what we're seeing. Those are the ones that are getting, showed off as the prominent figures and dominant figures.
Yep. So moving forward, the detective, played by our boy Omar Epps from back in the day, he's going ahead and he's taking around his little detective assistant, which is an interesting dynamic because she is entitled as hell. So she is the third generation detective. There's policemen that have been in her family, and he's her boss. But the way she talks to him is not like he's her boss.
Unfortunately, this Omar Epps character is really giving me Denzel Washington from Training Day vibes, and it's not subtle at all. It's very blatant. It's in your face. They really didn't do much with the character as far as they've shown in this particular episode. Not saying that going forward they're not going to do more with it. But if you were to tell me the series is over with right now, I would say, you really just sat there and gave me Denzel from Training Day vibes.
Okay, so let's draw the distinction right there. So Denzel in Training Day, he was definitely all about himself. But if you look at the whole vibe that he's presenting to Unique, about, I think you're going to come out winning, and my whole goal here is just not to have more bodies. It seems like he's trying to basically please his supervisors and make sure that nobody comes down on him. But so far, we haven't seen that element that Denzel was involved in. And Denzel was involved in every element of the game. He was getting involved with the drugs, the money, everything like that. But we haven't seen that out of Omar yet, but it may be coming down the pipe.
Also, like you said, he said he doesn't want any more bodies. But as someone who is an officer who could potentially be coming off a little bit dirty, right? He doesn't want any bodies because he does not want any attention. So because he doesn't want any attention in his particular direction, we don't know yet, right? But I'm taking that. I'm taking that he wants no attention because he's involved.
So you're looking into the future on that piece?
I'm looking into the future, yeah.
So I'm thinking, I'm on the lookout for that now. I appreciate that. All right, so basically what's happening is, Kanan is sitting at home. He's bridling at the bit. Marvin is like snowing it to him, saying, you're the chief man in charge. You're at the nerve center and all that. And he drops him off. But somebody drops a dime on what's really going on there. And that's that dude. I can't remember his name, I'll be honest with you. But he just tells him, look, you ain't running nothing. You're not being trained for nothing. I'm not teaching you nothing. I am your babysitter.
Kanan is being handled right now in the best sense that I can see he's being handled. They're going to give him enough to make him think that he's, in the mix. But his mom's not going to give him enough to put him in any more danger than she's willing to do. That's what we're going to see shape Kanan down the line, is that she never gave him the opportunity. She gave him the opportunity that she wanted to give him. So
basically what's happening, she goes forward and she's trying to tell him, though, she's trying to explain to him, hey, your father treated me just like this when I came up. I was pregnant with you. He was sequestering me away to keep me protected, but he also had another idea in mind, and that was, I want to see if you can follow orders.
That's a huge thing, because we don't know if she wants him to follow orders because she wants to be able to give him orders to, go take some lesser things that are going to put him farther away from this, or if she wants him to take those orders so that he becomes a great soldier who can rise to the top and take her position when she's ready to be done. We don't know which direction it's going. Unfortunately, right now, what we're seeing is that she's trying to keep him away. So following orders right now looks like, let's follow orders because those orders are going to keep you away.
So, Dill, I want you to go ahead and try to insert this after the detective piece we were talking about with Omar. Hey, definitely shout out to the creators of Power, because they're really giving some credit to some historical individuals in the neighborhood, as far as New York is concerned. There's a guy called Dapper Dan. He used to be the haberdashery of the Hood Stars. Basically, everybody who was anybody that came through New York, even if they was not from New York, they would go ahead and give over to him. And get Louis Vuitton that he morphed into different outfits, and Gucci that he morphed into different outfits. And Mike Tyson was there with the infamous fight with Mitch Green. So that's real history. And they kind of gave a shout out to that when they went to the tailors. As far as Dapper Dan is concerned,
I will say this too. I think that Omar Epps was perfect for that role. I think he was perfect for it. I think he's got just enough edge to him that he comes off as believable, but enough, book smart to come off as believable as a cop. So I think we might see him go a little bit dirty. The fact that he's having those conversations, I think, is a little bit indicative of what's going to come forward. But I think Omar Epps was an absolutely perfect character and a perfect pick for that role.
So let's move forward to some relationship type of deals. We already dealt with Tony, who's the cokehead publicist, and Marvin, and how he's moving in on her. But now we got Symphony and Rock. So basically, she goes over and she's like, I'm going over there, I'm going to mind my business. And she just rolls out of the crib and ends up at your boy Symphony's house. He's making dinner, he's a guy with multiple skills and all that. And then, he starts to teach her about the whole architecture some more. They get into it. They kind of cracked the surface last time. And now they're getting into more of it. She asked about the high rises. And in 1743, he tells her that King Louis created these high rise type of situations where the rich lived on the bottom and the poor lived on the top, because I guess they would have to go up all multiple flights. But then after that, the elevator was invented, and then that flipped everything around. So now the rich wanted to be on top so they could see everything that's coming.
Let me say this, because, there's not a microwave big enough. I know that we don't have to worry about Symphony being put in a microwave. I don't know if his character is going to be able to last very long, because what we've seen in women, female kingpins in this in this show, they don't last very long when they have prominent male suitors. So either she's not gonna last or Symphony's not gonna last, but I just don't see that dynamic lasting for too long.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that, man. Somebody's has to go. Rock definitely rocked the socks and whatnot. Your boy was like, "Hey, let's take it slow." And she was like, "Fuck all that noise." Yay, we get our first sex scene. Wasn't too bad.
It's what to expect. I mean, come on, it's Power. It is what it is.
So let's go forward back to the crib and shit. It was like we're looking at the whole situation. And what is the whole theme? What was running from the very beginning of the episode to the end of the episode as far as what they need to do to satisfy what Neek said. Because Neek said what? The streets need a body.
So the streets need a body. And so right now, unfortunately, that body is looking like Kanan. Kanan jumped out there and did something that was wildly against everything that was going on. And he did it with the best of intention. It was, he did it with the best of intention.
But did he? Because number one, who brought the information to Kanan? And number two, who really shot Buck 20?
I mean, look, we can go off what the show says. Obviously, both of them were shooting. One of the two of them shot him. So, but I do think that the information came in a nefarious manner. I don't think that it came with great intention. I think it came with bad intentions and downstream effects, unfortunately.
But also, who set themselves up? Because who was running his mouth? They didn't show him running his mouth, but then Kanan made mention of it that you don't have to be telling everybody. So who was running his mouth?
Oh, of course he is. I mean, you got a guy who's sitting up there and he wants to be the toughest guy in the world. And so, yeah, D is taking credit for it, but we don't know. We don't know who shot Buck 20 at the end of the day. I put it like this. I know that, Kanan and Buck 20 were on the same side, of the street. So if I'm going to say anybody shot Buck 20, I'm going to say that it was bullets from Kanan's gun. I mean, I don't know yet, but I know what we do know is that situation has shaped Kanan going forward. And that's going to be a monumental piece of his life that makes sure that he knows you can't trust anyone.
But D is kind of living too much in the moment, man.
Oh, no. When D is talking, that's because he wants to be the toughest guy in the world. He wants to be the big bad bully dog. But he's not. He just wants to talk because it looks good, it sounds good, and he knows that it's going to win him some credit at school, with women, with, everything that's going on. At the end of the day, talking about killing Buck 20 will come back to haunt him.
From what the streets is hearing, it's basically seeming like Kanan didn't really pull the trigger, somebody else did, and it was probably D. So he's really setting himself up for failure with that piece.
Here's the thing. If D keeps talking and takes the fall, it'll take Kanan off the hook.
So going forward, Rock is just like talking to Jew, and she's like, you got to get that Reggie Jackson action on. And Reggie Jackson was known as a big hitter. So that doesn't sound good in and of itself. And then we get information that D's brother just came home from the pen, and he's going to be spending more time at the crib. So now that's making Rock and them feel a lot more at ease that the fact that, okay, well, she's losing one son, but she's going to have another son. So it's like 1-for-1 exchange. I really kind of feel sorry for Jew at this moment, Juju. Because even though he wore a Jiminy Cricket sweater in the first episode, which, by the way, I'm fucking with him on the Bama tip, but for real, though, I thought that was from Flair. But anyway, so what's happening is I think he's a really good dude, but he's also family first over anything. So whatever Rock says, anything. He goes up against Marvin, anything. He's just like whatever Rock says. And, that may be his downfall when it comes down to it. He scoops D up and he takes him to the club. Who witnesses that little action? Jukebox. Jukebox sees him get in the Juju sob and rolls off. So that's a little loose end that Juju didn't anticipate as far as it possibly getting back to Kanan. Juju was trying to show D the time of his life before he had to do what he had to do. So what happened with that, they went to the club and he gave the hooker, whose name is Indy, and told her to take him in the back And then D probably lost his virginity at this point.
Yeah, so we saw that scene, and wasn't the first power sex scene we saw, but I will say it was one of the more, how do I say, polarizing sex scenes that we saw. It kind of came out of nowhere. He got his off, and it might have been the first time. Who knows? We don't know, but they were in the bathroom, and it was a shocker to me, honestly, that they depicted that.
There you go. But what it is he went out on a high, and then he caught a low. So basically, your boy takes him outside, and they're going ahead and do what everybody has to do after they drank too much in the alley. Preferably not early, because they drank way too much. But they going ahead, and they're feeding the flowers out there. And he turns to him, man. And you can see Juju's eyes, man. It looks like he's about to cry off this joint, man. And you can't help but feel for him because he doesn't want to do it. He knows his kid. His kid is family. But, it's Rock's orders.
What we're talking about when Rock talked to Kanan about following orders, right? It's a thing. It's can you follow the orders and not care about, the consequences of those orders? Who's going to be hurt? Who's, going to have to deal with it? No, follow the orders. And that's your job right now, unfortunately, or don't be in that life.
All right, so basically, we don't want to end this whole episode without talking about your girl Jukebox. And as Eric was mentioning previously, basically she is in love. And she was a little hesitant at first, but then they had the exchange with the clothing. And Jukebox's girl, she explained everything away and said, I'm so sorry. This is the environment I come from. And when you care about people, you buy stuff from them.
I think that's going to be, like I said before, I don't think that is out of nowhere. I don't think that relationship plays no, monumental piece in this overall situation. I think that we're going to see that relationship play itself out throughout Power Book 3 Kanan. And so I'm just looking forward to seeing what that particular relationship has to do with the entirety of the situation, because I think it's going to play a major part, because they spend too much time on it for it to not play a part.
Oh yeah, it's going to be instrumental for sure, because basically I was at this point, I was looking at Jukebox as a shell. I mean, she was like an egg. So she had this hard shell on the outside, and she never let anybody in. But when old girl explained to her that she cared about her, that eggshell just cracked open, and that's when she felt who she really was. And that's probably, you're right. You're probably right. That's what is actually telling us this is the emergence of Jukebox, and it probably has nothing to do with a particular character, but this is the scene, this is the time that opens her up to who she really is.
No, I mean, I completely agree with you. I think that this is going to be something that is, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to play out in a positive manner. I think that because of the life that Jukebox, has kind of been brought into, I think that it's going to end up in a negative manner. But I think it's going to be, integral in the entire season.
No doubt. All right, so look, Power fans, Power heads, we got to wrap this one up. Eric's girls beating them over the head with some objects and stabbing them in the side with some sharp utensils. So on that note, we got to sign off. And look, thank God my girl's not in this episode, because she was doing the same thing to me. Love you guys. Thanks, E. Thanks, Dill. Peace. Hey, Power fans, welcome back. This is my favorite part of the show. As you well know, this is the Q&A segment. We have Paul Blake joining us back again from last season, and he has to say this.
What's up, Power people? Coming back at you, Book 3, Episode 2. In case you didn't notice, it was directed by that black cinema icon, Mario Van Peebles. Anyway, let's jump right into my question, and it's about the power structure. You got Rock, you got Marvin, you got Lulu, and then you got Kanan coming up. And it seems to be a little discourse between the four of them on how things should be run and how they should handle the situation with Unique. How do you think that's going to play out? Rock seems to be in charge, but it's clearly not unanimous. Her decisions are being questioned. All right. Looking forward to your response and another season. Later.
Paul Blade, good catch, man. I've already mentioned Mario Van Peebles directing the episode, but you had no way of knowing that. You caught it on your own. It's good stuff. You made a comment on the power structure between Rock, Juju, Marvin, and Kanan. And first of all, Kanan has no power, so let's remove him from this equation. So far, all he's done is mess up a little bit, and you can't really blame him. You know, he's acting on what he sees, and he's trying to protect his mom, so it is what it is. But at the same time, he's not part of the power structure at all. Now, when you go up a little bit further, the lieutenant, the guy who does everything that Rock says, is Juju. As you know, he went ahead and capped Kanan's buddy D, and he shed a tear kind of, sort of. We didn't really see it, but you could tell in his face he was choking up. But at the same time, we're gonna flip it over to Marvin. Now, Marvin always has these great ideas, and he's always eating. And he never missed an opportunity to miss an opportunity, as 50 says. So with that, you know, Marvin is becoming a little bit more than we expected. So he goes in where basically Rock's not getting a lot of leeway going on there with Tony at the club. And Tony seems to be the buffer between the owner and anybody that comes in the club. But Marvin, he like, we want to go and throw the party there this weekend. So, you know, hook us up. And then they were doing it. And then she was like, you know, I don't have my staff. He started being a gentleman. Now, that's one thing I've noticed about this whole Kanan, Raising Kanan series, and that is that women seem to appreciate gentlemen. So I ain't got no problem with that. So he helps her with the bottles. And then when it's outside, when one of the unruly patrons gets out of hand and he tries to grab on Tony, your boy Marvin socks him. And then there starts a rumble. I found it interesting that Juju just rolled out because he said Marvin can handle himself. So maybe that's supreme confidence, the way Marvin gets down, or maybe he's just like he needs to pay a lesson or learn a lesson for, you know, sticking himself out there. But meanwhile, look what happens. Tony runs up to him, and nobody ever done that for me before. Nobody's fought for me. And he's like, I can't let them get away with that with my girl, even though they really just met. And then she busts a slob on him. So that's what's going on there, man. You know, it's a lot of interesting things going on at Power. So everybody seems to have their own strengths. Other than just being a robot, I'm still trying to find Juju's strength because he's just doing everything that Rock says. He doesn't really question anything. But outside of that, it's super interesting. So let's just keep going on. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button and follow button down below. And we'll see you next week. Peace.
I'm still on my call.
Cut that part out.
Please.
It's social shit. Hey, tell her 10 more minutes.
Oh, we're almost done. Greg, I'm so sorry. Greg, can you say hi to Leah real quick?
Hey, Leah, he'll be done in 10 minutes.
All right, guys, I'm really sorry for that.
I completely understand. You already know my significant other, okay?